Dwarves from the North. More than half the people of old Earth lost their memories in the first days of Norn. Furthermore, half also became something new. Fairies, Candyborn, Dwarves. According to the Dwarven elders, the world is called Yoro. It was carved by primordial giant people called the Jotnar. The dwarves themselves are just an odd musing of these beings, small carved stone men. Jeremy Goblin Scholar will tell you otherwise of the dwarven people. You are free, however, to believe what you will, dear listener. During the early days of the Wasteland, when elves all but ruled the Feylands, the Candyborn cannibalized upon the cold peak of Cherrytop, and the orcs waged war eternal upon mankind. The dwarves were a strange and somewhat united folk that lived on an archipelago just north of Norn. They invaded in small raids first in the south and east, taking livestock, slaves, and all assortment of food. One day, they came from the north, to Sucrose, and were stopped and beaten by the knights and the church faction. Their ships were sunk, and they were banished to a mountain in the cold, grey waste. No one really cared for them. They already had gods and could not be swayed towards the one god of the church. They had warriors. They needed not the protection of the knights. And they had their runes, so they had no use for the magic of the Wixards. The dwarves' mind had found a special ore that they traded to the human knights to buy freedom and established a mining village. This ore was called Mithril. Mithril. As light as aluminum, but stronger than steel, but of course, far more rare than both combined. A group of miners rebelled and used the Mithril to attack their human neighbors. They were killed. Despite this, peace continued. However, the dwarves would keep to their mines. Even during such conflicts as the Great Fairy War, few dwarven people would see the battlefield. In the wake of the Fairy War, Dwarf King Yonfial called all half-bred bastards to his underrealm, and there his people catalogued and counted the many new sub-races of Norn. His workforce and army grew. The great underrealm expanded to the borders of the factions. This was unnoticed at first, but when this was discovered, new lines had to be drawn. Some folks will laughably refer to these times as minor wars. In the mid-post-apocalypse, it was the dwarves that pioneered steam technology. They won't let the goblins tell you otherwise. Due to the strict marriage and mating practices in their culture, the dwarves were the lowest population of Norn. They made up for this with their inherent longevity. By the time of Orkinia, dwarves had all but died out, leaving behind a legacy of machines, folklore, and their mixed-blooded descendants.